Like I said before, Adam's just going to ask me a few questions here, and we're gonna rock and roll.
Yeah. Well, so the first question is has to do with at the market open when you have everything all planned out perfect, and lo and behold, your trade plan kind of goes out the window, kind of like today. How do you handle that? How do you adapt? And of course, when you're under pressure to get things right and take a great trade, time seems to go twice as fast. How do you slow time down and keep your plan moving forward and making sure you don't miss that trade?
Yeah, that's a difficult one. It that takes a lot of time to develop. So I don't want to make it seem like it's that's an instant fix because it's definitely not. It's one of the most difficult things on the planet to do. But what I like to say is, yeah, we all have an ability to slow down time. Time's one of those interesting things. Tricktrades members have heard me talk about this multiple times. And time's super interesting because not only is it constant, but it's also relative. So inside our minds, essentially, you have the ability to slow down time. And there's an exercise that every time I ask people to do, I'm willing to bet it's a very small percentage that actually go through and do it. And I would love for everyone to complete this just once. And I know it's going to sound super simple, and you're going to say, yeah, okay, I get it. And you'll count to 10 and that's it. And you'll like, okay, I get it. No, I want you to really count. I want you to stare inside of a mirror, like look at yourself in a mirror and count to 60. That's 60 seconds. That's 1 minute. Well, 1 minute, that's our candle. That's the time of a candle. And if I were to do that for you guys right now and just stare in the camera blankly for 60 seconds, it'll get weird. It'll feel uncomfortable because that's a long time. And another reason why it feels like it just goes by so fast is because people are ramped up, their emotions just running super high. And that's definitely one of the things that needs to be handled in order to progress and transition into that successful trader. It's something that's super necessary that you need to do. You need to understand that time. We all have the ability to slow that time down. And I know it sounds super weird and super flaky, super crazy. It isn't though. You do. And that's the one thing that I noticed years ago when I would always hear people saying, oh, don't trade the market open. It's too fast. And it's like the way I'm wired and the way I think, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. 1 minute is 1 minute is 1 minute is 1 minute. I don't care where you are on the planet. I don't care what timer's counting down. Yes, it can feel like it's going by really fast and it's super crazy. And yeah, there's a lot of volume. And it's the way that candle's moving as well. The way it jumps up and down on that first 1 minute candle, people see that and then their minds kind of melt. And because it's jumping, you're taking in that energy as well. And you start jumping and you have to slow it down. And it's easy to do. It's not that difficult. It's just understanding that no matter what, that is still a 1 minute candle is a 1 minute candle. Whether it's at the market open or at 10:30 a.m., 1:46 p.m., or the market close. 1 minute is 1 minute. And no single 1 minute candle, if you are trading proper stocks that I consider proper stocks, market leading stocks with heavy institutional ownership, unless there is a wild catalyst that happens once every 10 years, like I'm talking a real wild catalyst, there's no such thing as a 1 minute candle damaging you. It can't. It's impossible. It's like, yeah, you might have entered a little early or something, and yes, there might be a loss, but it can't kill you. There's nothing that candle can do to you to hurt you. It's all in your head. And that's where it starts. That's where all of this starts. You have to realize that all of this shit is in your head and you have to control it. And that's the first step is looking in the mirror and counting off 60. Count from 1 to 60 and stare at yourself. It's going to feel really weird and uncomfortable. I don't know if anyone's ever done this exercise, but it is. It's super weird. But after that, you're gonna say to yourself, "Oh, that felt like a lifetime because it's awkward." Well, when you're sitting in front of the charts, you need to remember that feeling. And no matter what that candle's doing, when it's bouncing around, you need to understand that you have the ability to slow that down, breathe, relax. If you think a 1 minute candle, because of the time of day, is faster than another, it's because you're heavily emotional. And that's what I would start with. I think that's one of the biggest lessons that all new traders and struggling traders that are struggling with emotion should really get into and try, is that right there. And it sounds super silly, but it's real necessary, guys.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, you know, what comes to mind, Pat, is in guidance in the morning. I think a thing that might help speed time up is, especially people who are newer to trading, is you're trying to look at everything, right? And
Yeah.
so instead of just focusing on one thing and that one candle, it's probably 20 or 30 things, because the newer when we're newer to this, we don't know what to look at, and that's the point of your guidance, right? The guidance is to help people slow down and focus on the particular areas of the chart where your eyes are. And by using you as the lead, people can also slow time down by
Mhm.
focusing just on what you're focusing down on, instead of the, oh, I want to take meta, I want to take spy, maybe I'll take Q, maybe what's this other chart doing, oh, how's my swings doing, there's
Yeah.
that other play. That's going to also add so much more information, which is going to dilute the power of that minute that you're talking about. And so I just, on the
100%.
outside, your guidance will help slow it down.
Yes, definitely. And it's that focusing. It's really focusing, right? And yeah, those are all really good points. And that's what people need to do. And that's why so many new traders just have so many problems and so many issues, because they're always chasing the next thing, the next stock. They're looking around. And that's kind of one of the nice things about the teaching style at Trick Trades is, and I make it really clear that on my screens, on screen share, where my mouse cursor is, that's exactly where my eyes are. And I've talked about that before to explain that to people. It's like that's literally where my focus point of my pupils are. It's right at that. I speak with my mouse cursor. So if my mouse cursor isn't on meta and you're looking at it, you're failing yourself. You're speeding up time too much. You're taking in too much. Like there's too much stimuli on these charts, and we respond highly to stimuli. So when you're
Mm-hmm.
looking at that stuff, your brain is firing, and you have to slow that down just through focusing. A lot of people don't know how to focus. That's something that's never taught. Patience, focus, discipline, all that sort of stuff. That's not taught, right? It's something you have to learn. And this is why we focus heavily on rebuilding and rewiring traders. Have to. Yep.
All right, well, hopefully there was some helpful information there. I mean, it just makes me ready for tomorrow. Um, So let's question two here. Now this is kind of resembles what's just happened here, getting this thing going. When we're trying new things, we're looking at new technologies to bring new ways of education to the Trick Trades members, and even people who aren't a part of the community. And we make these, Pat makes these trade plans in the morning, and 1 minute, we like to say it goes all AMD, and that the trade plans that you have so often, especially lately, just fall apart at the market open. How do you respond to that?
Well, it's about adapting. And it brings that is answered by the very first point and question that you had about slowing down time. That's what you need to do. You just need to stop. You don't react yet, right? You haven't taken in that information yet. Just stop, assess the charts, assess the damage, so to speak, and then you can respond. I'm a huge advocate of breaking things down into very small bullet point lists for a person to follow, and like checklists. And I know everybody has heard of like trader checklists and stuff like that, but nobody really explains what needs to be broken down. And it needs to be broken down in just very precise points. Like if something like that were to happen, and it happens a lot lately, where right at the market open, right before that, okay, if our level's here and we were going to open up here and we're looking for that long, we just had a ton of distance. Now, a few minutes before the market open, it comes to here and it's right at that level. Well, you need to have some sort of a plan in case that happens. So that's not new to us. Like you said, Adam, that's something that we should be aware of because it's been happening a lot. So the first time it might catch you a little bit off guard. If it catches you off guard a second time, that's your fault. That's your problem. We need to come with solutions. Too many people just come with problems, extra problems, but they have no solutions. Like people will do that just even outside of their trading life as well. They'll do that in their life, right? Their regular life, their outside life. And it's just when somebody we all know that person. That's all they do is they come to you with problems, but there's no bloody solution. That doesn't help anything. It's just bitching for the sake of bitching. And that's what we need to realize, that sometimes plans don't work out, but it is about being prepared. Now, I remember not that long ago, I want to tell a quick story here because it just popped in my head. There's a really famous trader and well-known trader that runs a massive service. And he's located in Europe. It's more of a European one, but he broke into the North American markets. Anyways, he put out a video, and he's a huge advocate of not doing trade plans or scans at night. No trade plans until that market opens, because of what you just said, Adam, because that can happen. But here's the thing. If you do that, you're just not prepared. Now, sure, once the market opens, everything can go to shit. It can get thrown out the window. It happens. But you have a scenario for if that pops back up into that area and then pulls back into that level. Like that can happen. There's ebb and flow movement of those stocks. So you still have that plan in the back pocket. Now you just need to rework your plan. It's about preparation. It's about possible outcomes. It's about where the odds are, right? Like it's all of those things. You cannot be a successful trader and not be prepared. It's impossible. We've all seen the traders that fly by the seat of their pants. Now you have to ask yourself, where are they now? Or if they are still around, how much longer will they be here? Like trading is a game of years. There's a lot of people that come and go. I've seen it. Now, I've been trading for a decade, which to some of you, it might not sound like a lot. But I know for a fact, with the way I do things and the way I'm wired, it's going to turn into 15 years. It's going to turn into 20 years. It'll turn into as long as I want to do this for, guys. But there's a lot of people that they feel it coming. They feel that pressure because they know they're not prepared. They're not prepared. I've seen it 1,000 times. There's so many traders that when I first started, I respected and thought that that they knew what they were doing, right? They're gone. They're ousted. And they'll come up with excuses and say stuff like, "Oh, I just found something better to do." There's no way, man. There's no way. Yes, there might be other things that you're going to do, but I'll tell you what. Even if I were to leave day trading, I would never leave it 100%. Why? Because I can make thousands of dollars in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So why not show up, flip on the screens for 5 minutes, make a couple few grand and bail? So if you're able to do that, why wouldn't you do that? Like when the market becomes a literal ATM machine, why wouldn't you? So to me, it's just bullshit. It's because of their lack of preparation and their lack of thirst for knowledge and evolution as a trader. I'm always evolving. I always want to change. I want to do things better. And that's a real important point about mastery as well. And that's a whole other topic that I would love to do on another one of these. And we're definitely going to do it because it's a lot of the finer points that get missed. But I hope that kind of answers the question. It was a long
Yeah,
response.
no, I mean, yeah, it just comes down to being prepared for the unexpected.
Yep.
You have a trade plan just because your trade plan might not happen doesn't mean you shouldn't have made a trade plan, right? You might
Of
decide you're going
course.
to go on a trip from Texas to Florida. There might be a roadblock somewhere and you have to take a detour. Doesn't mean you don't take the trip, right? That means you
Exactly.
adapt. You execute your plan. Something unexpected happens, and you need to have enough sense though to know if your plan doesn't happen, you have, and this comes into our other question coming down is, well, what do I do, right? If the internet connection or something fails or a storm rolls by and I'm in a trade and my power goes out, which I know happens to you from time to time.
Yep. Happens to me quite often. We have power surges here. For those that don't know, I live in Costa Rica, and I don't live in an area of Costa Rica that's heavily populated. We live on the Guanacaste coast, which is an absolutely beautiful area. But the infrastructure isn't like how it is in the States or Canada and the UK or whatever. It's kind of overloaded, and it's funny because sometimes my power will go out due to a monkey. It's a literal monkey climbing on the wires getting zapped, or a bird, or a squirrel or whatever, and it happens. And I've been in trades. So what can you do about it? It's kind of one of those things where, again, it boils down to the type of person that you are. When you get hit with any type of adversity, are you someone that just like rolls over and dies and like starts like crying and like screaming at the top of your lungs? Or do you just like, it is what it is? I have no control over this. Like, I've talked about this a lot. Like, a lot of people here watching this and that will be watching this, they've given themselves over to a higher power, right? Like, accept the things you cannot change, whatever that quote is. I'm not overly religious, but whatever. That's great right there, because you have to give yourself over to that. There's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing. What are you going to do? You're going to pout? You're going to cry? What? Because the crazy thing is, I think the ones that do, it's because they've had very little struggle or adversity in their life. Man, I can tell you stories, man. My background, where I come from, how I grew up, that power going out, me being locked into a fucking 100, $200,000 position, eh, that ain't nothing. Why? Because the fucking power's gonna come back on. It's gonna take 2 minutes, and maybe I'm more green, maybe I'm red, maybe it hasn't stopped me out. I'll know once it turns back on. It's accepting, guys. You have to just accept it. You have to roll with it, because you're not going to do yourself any good. And this is probably the best point of this. When you amp yourself up, when that power's out and you're panicking and it's like, fuck, what am I going to do? Oh my God, I'm probably losing a fortune. But you don't know that, right? So again, that's all in your head. When that power comes back on, are you going to be able to think clearly? No,
Mm-hmm.
because you just fried yourself. You're all amped up. Your adrenaline is running. It's like being in, we've all seen it, some sort of car accident, some sort of craziness on the streets. And there's like two types of people, right? You have the one screaming in the background, not adding to the situation. And then you have the one that just walks forward into the fire, into the madness, into the whatever, with a blank, clear face and ready to handle whatever comes their way. And that's what it's about. You have to decide, because everybody has the power to turn into that second person, the one that just marches towards the flames. No problem. Right? Like, I've never been an emotionally controlled person, but I know in order to do this, when I'm sitting behind the desk on the charts, I have to, or I will fail. I don't have a choice. When it comes to certain things, people think they have a choice. Well, you do have a choice, but if you want to be successful, there is no choice. The choice isn't there. You have to do it. So do it. Just make it
That's
so.
powerful.
Like,
You
just
just
like
have to
just
make
do
that
it.
decision.
Right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Have to.
And you keep going. So let's bring this into our next question. So here, the power goes out and all of a sudden you don't have your tools. And these are the things that we have for this profession that we absolutely have to have. When our tools are at their best, we can do very well. But a lot of people, just like anything, you're a welder, you could put a welder in somebody's hand, and you probably want to run the other direction. Could some of the tools that traders are using, could they be looking at data? Could they be using the tools in a way that's either hurting them and doing damage to their style of trading, and are things that they should be doing as they use and perfect their use of the tools and understand their data, that they should be thinking about that they might be missing or not understanding?
Yeah, I think it boils down to the proper tools. So there's proper tools and then there's tools. You can go to the dollar store. I'm sure everyone has been to a dollar store, and there's a tape measure, there's even a hammer, there's a level. Is it going to be quality? How level is that level? You ever checked one of those dollar store levels? I have. They're garbage, right? Doesn't work. There's tools, there's degrees to this. You need professional tools. We need to be professional when we're here. And another thing I think people do is, and I talked about this in mentoring live class here this morning. I ran a mentoring live class, and it's hard to imagine that the internet and this technology has only been around for 20 years. Now, for some of the young ones that are watching this, you've only grown up with the internet and computers and technology like this. Well, I would say the bulk of my audience remembers a time when this didn't exist. And so we don't have a lot of experience with these tools. So it almost becomes like it's not real. It's not tangible. It isn't real yet. Now, I know obviously this is real. The computer's real. Everything's real, right? But we don't fully believe it. If you were to like really break things down, deep down inside, it has not become real. And the analogy that I gave was cars, automotives, right? Cars came out for the most part and were widely accepted in the 30s and 40s. Yes, there were cars before that. Like the Model T is probably 1918, 1919. So that's 20 some years, 20, 25 years. How many accidents do you think there were 20 years into cars being widely accepted? Lots, tons of fender benders, nonsense, like stupidity, right? That's where we are right now. And that's one way to look at it. So what we need to do, and the solution to all of that, is get the right tools. Don't get blinded by flashy things. I've been a victim of that too, okay? But it was my own damn fault. So I get hit up all the time because I run a service. And do you see me promoting any software, any extra things? Now I have, because they come to you with these shiny objects, and it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. Like there's certain cool things about it. And then I quickly dismissed it and told people I'm never doing that again, because I don't feel right with me being on a professional level where I know how to use those tools. And there's different tools for the job, like scanners and this and that and all that fun stuff. But the majority of you, not as this isn't a burn, but you don't know how to use those yet. Okay. I know everyone can work them. Everyone can make a scan, but I mean properly and legitimately use that stuff. So that's why I don't do any of that. You'll never see me promote any of that shit. I've been using TC2000 charts literally since day one. I've tried other charting softwares. No, TC2000 is still the best. I don't mind TradingView. TradingView's getting pretty good, but I still stick with TC2000. My broker is Interactive Brokers. They've been around forever. Not into all these fancy brokers. I just want good, solid executions. I want professional tools. And that's what those two things provide. So you have to use these professional tools, and you have to know how to work them too. One of the things that drive me nuts is when people first sign up, and I understand. I know it drives me nuts, but I do understand. and they'll say, hey, do you have any videos on how to set up TC2000? Which I understand. I get that, right? You're looking to how get it set up.
Mhm.
But you should have something in you that makes you want to dive into that and devour that new software. You should be excited about it. Because I know for me, when I get excited about something, I devour it. I eat it alive. I don't care if it's still kicking and screaming. I'm going to eat it. Like I'm right in there, man. And it's like, that's how you have to be. You have to have some sort of passion for this, right? It can't just be about making money. There's got to be some level of passion there, right? So,
Right. Yeah. No, they're your lifeline. Just like, you know, I was a chef in my former life, and your knife was who you are. You took care of your knife. You took your knives everywhere with you, and
yeah, straight.
because without your knife, you were washing dishes.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, you need the right tools for the right job, and you get good quality tools because they're going to save you.
Hmm. And there are a lot of free ones out there to try to pull you in a different direction. And I know you've talked about that from time to time, that
Yep.
there's a compromise when they're free.
Yes, absolutely. Don't ever go for free. I know it's real enticing. Free brokers, free executions. Do you think that's free? Uh-uh. You will get nailed on the back end. Those executions will have slippage galore. If you don't pay the 2 cents now, you're going to pay 20 cents later. Don't do it. Free is the most expensive word you will ever hear. Absolutely. Except for this free webinar, though.
All right. All right. So let's see. All right. We're moving along here. Good. So let's talk about our next question here. So the other day, Meta had a small gap up. I'm not sure if everybody noticed that, but and I suspect that there probably were some people that might have been holding a short position into earnings, which was on this particular day. What would you say to those people, and how maybe what their risk management strategy was? Is there something that maybe they need to learn about risk management when they're holding short into earnings on a stock like Meta?
People get blinded by greed so easily, big time. And they'll never think of the consequences. I see it all the time. People will, when they're looking at a trade that they're wanting to take, they're only looking at the profit. Oh man, I could make 1,000, 10,000, $1 million on this trade, and they start drooling. They're not thinking of that downside. Me, I think the opposite. I'm always thinking of that downside. I need to know how to control my downside. I need to know what my maximum downside is. It's just like any other business decision out there, guys. And maybe there's a lot of you that have never, had any business dealings. I know a lot of my audience is very blue collar, right? I get that. And, that's my background too. So when it comes to business, I owned and operated my own welding service, but it was kind of different, right? But when it comes to a legitimate business decision, even if you do not have a business background, it's just like loaning a friend money. If you have two friends, one has always been there for you, um, anytime, like he's the first to offer help. He's offered to help you when you've been down, or you've got a friend that is a crackhead. We all have them. I know I have. So, okay, which one are you loaning money to? Because holding into earnings is the crackhead. That's what that is. People are only seeing the upside, and they'll lie to themselves and they'll say, oh, well, I'm only risking a certain amount. There isn't. There's no way to control that downside because horrible news can come out and it can gap down more than you thought. Okay. Now, sure, there's ways to control that, but not really. You're only thinking about the upside, and you're a gambler. There's not a professional, not even professional trader, a professional alive that would ever compromise with getting into a situation with that much risk. It doesn't exist, guys. Okay. And it's really important that people understand that, well, you can't do it. I know it seems super enticing and everyone's here to make money, but it's going to do the opposite. You can't be getting involved with that shit. And it's just, there is no risk management. They're only thinking of the downside, or sorry, the upside, never the downside. And it's horrible. Like, don't do it. It's going to blow you up, because that one trade where maybe you only risked $100 on it, that $100 you're going to need on year 3 of your trading career. And I went over an exercise on Mentoring Live class here today to put things into perspective. A couple of fat fingers, a couple times a week, and guess what? You're screwed. That's 10 grand over the course of the year. So it's something to think about.
Well, if you're not able to see or hear, we will post this video, so we'll make sure we send an email out to everybody that was here today to watch the full, kind of edited and cleaned up version of today's conversation. So if anyone is having any audio or visual problems, we'll make sure you're taken care of. All right, Pat.
Okay, sorry about that, folks.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Next question here. All right. So let's see, question 5 here, and then we'll get into a little Q&A.
Yep.
We got late start, so let's see. So this kind of goes into risk management. You take a trade, it goes against you, and you've just got to cut it. How do you formulate and have, I think, the mental clarity and the mental discipline and keep your emotions at bay, which we've already talked about a little bit, and execute a plan B, so you're not just walking away with just a red trade that ends your day. But how do you take control of the situation and execute a plan B and keep moving forward on your trading for the day? Because it's easy to just be frustrated and walk away.
Yes. Yeah, it is really easy to be frustrated, but it boils down to understanding what strategy is. Strategy will never work 100% of the time. It's impossible. So this is why it's absolutely imperative that traders trade strategy on every trade. Don't ever deviate. Don't ever take those trades that are like, this kind of looks good. It's not your strategy. Don't take it. And I'll tell you why. If you trade to strategy, as per strategy, and it doesn't work, that is on the equal of a trade that worked. Because we understand strategy cannot work 100% of the time. Therefore, you can't expect it to work 100% of the time. Therefore, you took a good trade. There's nothing wrong with it, right? That's number one. And that's what's so important to get through to traders at the beginning, what strategy actually means. I know every single person that will ever watch this video will say, I know what strategy means. And there's only a small portion that actually do. They can regurgitate the Webster's dictionary definition of strategy, right? They can do that. But what does it actually mean? And there's a big difference between what people think strategy is and doing it. You have to take it. There's been so many trades that I've taken that are to strategy that I've even said out in the open, I don't think this is going to work, but I have to take it. And it works. Strategy is strategy. So that's number one. That way, you let yourself off the hook. Because it's not you that failed. The strategy didn't fail either. It just didn't work. That's all. And that's a big load off your shoulders. When you're doing things that are just like nonsense, where it's like, this kind of looks good, I'll take it. You're going to beat yourself up if it doesn't work, right? Because there's no strategy, there is no plan, there's no nothing. It's about protecting yourself. You have to protect yourself from what's up here, because this up here is going to mess with you. So if it's to strategy, you're off the hook. That's number one. Number two, there's always a way out. This is something that I teach so heavily on screen share every single day. Now, it's funny because throughout the years, my consistency is unparalleled. You've never seen it. I guarantee it. You won't. And it's difficult for people to process that you can be green every single day. Ouch. Oh, sorry, guys, got a cramp. So that's not something that is impossible. It's absolutely possible. Now, do I have red trades? Oh yeah, hell yeah, all the time. All the time, red trades. But I'm a firm believer that there's always a way out. There's always a secondary trade. There's always a plan B. It's about having that ace up your sleeve, man. And that's through preparation. See, I run drills. I run drills even to this day, and I have for years. I will review my trades at the end of the day, and I don't log them into some program that's not going to give me any reasonable data that I can actually like implement it. All of those programs that like track your trades and stuff, they're not giving you the data you need. The data you need is to see how you could have managed that differently. Okay? It's not about being wrong. It's not about being right. Strategy, to take me right back to where I started with this. So that's super important. But what you can do is come up with possible outcomes. What are the possible outcomes of that trade? These stocks do the same thing over and over and over and over again every single day, folks. So it's important to understand that if you run these drills by finding the possible outcomes, and I've got a mentoring live class where I go into great detail over this, it's fucking great. That'll show you. And it's something that I talk about even on screen share for people that aren't even mentoring members. I talk about the possible outcomes, the natural movement. Like for those that are just joining us that have not, this is the first time you've ever heard me talk or us talk. We're different. This is very different. This is not a cut and dry trading service. This is way different. I guarantee you've never seen anything like it. And it is possible. Now, I'm not saying that you need to be green every day, guys. I'm not saying that at all. It's unnecessary. You don't. You can still be a trader that's, hitting at 70%, 80%. That's tons. That's all you need, even less. You can be a 50-50 trader and still make money in the markets, guys. Okay? It's very doable. So don't get hung up on that. Never compare yourself to someone else because the level of consistency, and that's one of the downsides, if I'm being honest, about the service is because, and I've actually talked to Kelvo, which is one of the moderators, and I said, should I just throw the game one of these days and just like have a bad red day? Like to show that I guess I'm human. Like, do you know what I mean? And then it's like, fuck that. Why would I do that? It's like people need to understand that you don't need to be green every day. You don't need to compare yourself to someone else. Okay. And it is doable. So for those out there saying like, oh, that's bullshit. No, it isn't, man. I trade live with my Momentum members twice a week. Plus I show everything every single day, like clockwork. So it's like, it's doable. It's manageable. But it's because I am so prepared and just ridiculously disciplined. There's levels to this, folks. And anything worth doing is worth doing well. Like, I don't care if you're a custodian. You better make sure that you are the best fucking custodian on the planet, man. I don't care if you're a fireman, a cop, some sort of mid-level management office worker, a tradesman of any kind. Whatever you're going to do, be the best at it. Drive yourself towards the top. That's it. That's all it comes down to. And then really that's what I have to say about that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Pat. So why don't we switch gears here? We got a few minutes and we'll go a little over since we got a late start. Yep. And let's see if anybody wants to ask some questions. Well, there is a green button down here, and we're just going to kind of wing it here and see what happens. Does anybody want to ask a question? You've got a button there, and it will allow us to bring you on in the show here. And Pat will see what we can do to help you out.
Now's your chance, folks. Camera's on me, so I can't yell at you. That's a lie. I can always yell at you.
Now, one question. Everybody knows everything. Or if you're afraid of getting on the screen, on the camera, you can just type it in the chat.
Advice for a total newbie. Dave asked that question there. I see that. That's a very rounded question, but I'll do my best to answer it. the best possible advice I could ever give you, Dave, is, and it's going to come off like I'm trying to sell you here, man. I'm not. You got to take my word for it, man. Like I'm truly am here to help. You need to find somebody that's doing this and like legitimately doing this. They're going to shorten your learning curve. They're going to help you with the mistakes. They're going to hold you by the hand. That's what you need. Number two, let's say you don't want any part of that. I understand that. You'll come around at some point. But if not, that's fine. I would say go slow. Go slow. Go ridiculously slow. Don't be in a rush. Don't be in a rush at all, man.
Mm-hmm.
Everything works the opposite here, folks. If you rush, you'll fail. If you try to make money, you will lose money. That's what you need to do. You need to trade well, guys. Period. Full stop. That's the best advice I can give you. And I know it sounds like really mediocre advice, but it's like that's just the truth, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I just, as a student of Pat's, and I go back, I can just say, I wish I just took my time and listened to him instead of was off being Mr. Experimental. The sooner I would have been listening, would have cut a lot of time off the learning curve. So there's no rush. There's no rush for excellence. You can never compromise it. You have to take your time.
And Thomas is asking, how do you place stops? So, well, Thomas, I'm an advocate of strategy. It's not just about placing stops. I have a risk strategy, and we call it standard risk. And it seems I'll tell you what my stops are. So on SPY, it's 1 point. On Apple, it's 1 point. And the rest of them are roughly 1 point dependent. Now that sounds like it's just a random 1 point stop. It isn't. There's a reason behind it. And I've done a YouTube video on it a little bit. I've talked about it, and I gave clues to help people figure out what this really is about. And it's about going back through the charts and understanding the natural movement of these stocks. These stocks will do the same thing every day. Now, some days they'll do something real crazy, right? Take those out of the equation. From the opening price, how far does SPY or Apple dip down past a level of technical support? The most it will ever do that is 1 point before it comes back up. Do you know that? And I've traced that back years in the market. And that's how I've come up with placing stops. Now, if you're not a member, here's the best advice I can give you. When it comes to stops, use your technicals. Use technicals, okay? So if you have one level here and your entry is here, okay? And your action coming down into this level comes here, comes down into that level. If it breaks that, you got to get out, because there's nothing below that. There's a big window of space. You understand? Those technicals work. Technicals are very important. And the last thing that I'll say to you, Thomas, is understand what type of trader you are. What type of trader are you? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Are you a trader that uses technical, news scanners, and scanners? Do you look at the news? Do you pay attention to Fed announcements? Do you look at balance sheets? Because if you do all that, you're lost. I don't look at any of that shit. I don't care about it. I use the chart. That's it. I'm a pure technician. Pure technicals with no catalyst. I don't want news. I don't want momentum. I just want the charts doing an average basic bitch day. That's what I want. That's what I love, because it becomes easy, man. And that's the piece of advice I'd give you, is understand what type of trader you are first, and then go from there.
You trade the predictability.
Yeah, 100%. And it's super predictable. It does the same shit every day, guys. There's nothing new under the sun when it comes to the market. I've been doing this long enough. I've been through crazy markets, massive catalyst markets, trending markets, consolidating markets, up markets, down markets. Doesn't matter. Does the same shit day in and day out. And I'm a day trader first and foremost. I'm not here swinging. I'm not holding. I'm not investing. I am a day trader. I look for minimal opportunities, get in and get out, If it gives me follow through, then I'll hold. If not, I'm out. That's it. I keep it super simple. Dave's asking, can I benefit from Tricktrades service as a beginner? I guess it's a more concise. Oh, Davey, 100%, brother. I'm willing to bet after your first week. Okay, I'll make you a side bet. I'm willing to bet after your first week, I guarantee, number one, you're going to feel a little bit lost. Don't get freaked out on that. But number two, your mind's going to be blown. I guarantee it. You're going to see things that you never thought were possible. And it's way easier than what you think. Way easier. Now, are you going to become a millionaire immediately? No, absolutely not. I'm not promising you blue sky. But what I can promise you is what I'm going to give you is my 100% each and every bloody day, man. That's what I'm going to give you. I expect the same out of you, though. This isn't a service for people that are soft. I am a coach. And if you've ever played any type of sports before, you know what that means. And I'm on my members because I want them to succeed. That's what I want. And yes, you can benefit from being an absolute bare bones beginner. Our educational structure is unparalleled. It's there for beginners, guys. And if you have any questions, we're always there, right? There's a reason why members that, even though they're consistent and full-time, they still stick around. They understand the value of a good coach. And absolutely, Dave, 100%, man. So I'm just scrolling through on these. Carl's asking on swing trades. This is more geared towards day trading, but that's all right, Carl. I'll answer. On swing trades, how many days do you go to expiry? Depends. It depends on the trade. Is it ready to go? Is it ready to fire? Does it have a history of consolidating? It depends. For the most part, to give you a very basic question, a very basic answer, 2 weeks. That's it. That's all I'm going. That's all I want for my swings. I can always re-enter on the next pullback, right? You don't want to go too far out because even if it hits that price, right, and it starts coming up, that premium's not going to move and it's not going to be worth, the juice won't be worth the squeeze, so to say. So it's 1 to 2 weeks. Those are all my swings. 1 week, 2 weeks, that's it. And if it starts giving me follow through, then I'll reload on those options, right? You can always get in at that premium price. You could, but once you've made your money, you've made your money. But yeah, about 2 weeks. So Jim is saying it seems that every time I get out at the standard risk, it comes back. And when I hold past standard risk, it keeps going down. So what you're missing, Jim, most likely is maximum risk. And we discussed this on screen share. And I would almost rather handle this on screen share because then I can show you with charts and everything else. But I went over this with Adam the other day, not this Adam, another member Adam. And he missed something. What's happening there is you're missing something on the charts and you're not snapping your crosshairs. That's what it's coming down to. You're not checking if it goes past standard risk. Because remember, standard risk is just standard risk. It's not based off of technicals. It can still go into technicals. So is there a technical level in and around that standard risk? If the answer is no and it's way above, do not take that trade. Don't take it because the risk is, it's hard to say. It should tap itself out. And also it's very difficult to answer that question because I don't have a trade in front of me that I can dissect. Next time that happens, send me a fucking trade. Send me a trade so then I can take a look at it and be like, oh, okay, that's what you're doing. That's what you're missing. And then I can correct it. So questions always seem very innocent and they seem like you can get like a really direct answer to them. A lot of questions you can't because a lot of those questions, I need more information. And that's why it's like, send me a chart, send me something that I can take a look at that can show, I can say, it's like, oh, no, that's not working because yeah, you missed that. Oh, you didn't check your risk on that, Jim, right? You know, it's one of those things. And there's other trades you have to understand. And what you're missing, I would say probably the biggest part, shit happens. right? Strategy doesn't work all the time, and you have to accept that. One of the biggest hurdles is acceptance for traders. And again, it boils down to understanding what that word strategy really means. I accept. I just accept. If it doesn't work and I held a little bit longer because I tried to give it that little bit, I accept it. Got to move on. Are you trading those main watches? There's a million and one questions that I can ask, but that's my start point for you, Jim. Start snapping your crosshairs, right? Snap those crosshairs. Check your risk. If your standard risk level's here and there's a technical level here and you only gave it to standard risk, right? And then you got out and there was a technical level right there. You should have held to there. You should have accounted for that. Or standard risk is here and your next technical level is way the hell up here. Oh, don't take that, because if it blows through standard risk, it's gone, right? So when you're holding too much, that's what's going on. You're missing something. You're missing that risk profile. You're missing risk. You're not snapping those crosshairs, or you're not looking at the daily chart. So we've got a question here, and this is a good one because it does have to do with mentality, and we'll probably wrap it up. I know there's like a million and one questions here, but that's okay. We're going to do lots of these in the future, guys, and we're going to get the software worked out. If Riverside isn't for us, we'll find something else, guys. I promise you. So have you ever taken a break from the market for weeks to clear your head, to come back, find your emotions are in check? Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't at this point. So at this point, it's no, like I don't take any breaks from the market. I don't need it. I have emotions 100% in check. That's years of doing not only self work, but self work as a trader. Okay. So that's that right there. But yes, at the beginning, I would take breaks. I had to, because you don't have those emotions in place. And when you come back after that time, yes, you're going to see things clearer. And it's almost like this is kind of along those levels. Like I always tell members, the bones section is a beginner's guide to get you caught up to speed, right? Well, Adam just brought this up. He actually reviewing this because we're doing some stuff on the back end of Tricktrades and revamping a few things educational wise. He just rewatched the bone section, something that he hadn't done in a long time. The amount of stuff that he picked up on, he was blown away. It's on that level, because you're going to come back. Remember, experience is like that, right? Your experience, as time goes by, your experience level goes by. And same thing when you're taking time off. If you stop here and you come back here, you have this time in between to evaluate yourself, evaluate the problems that you've been having, the whole nine, as long as you're doing self-work, right? So do you think you're going to come back, it's going to be perfectly linear? Or do you think it's going to come up a little bit, even a little bit? That's progress. And that's what it's about, guys. It's little bite-sized pieces of progress. It's all we can do. You're never, there's no rushing this. It just isn't. It takes a long time. Yeah, sorry guys, so Dive's asking, accepting that no strategy is 100%. However, Pat, can you show you how to manage a trade? Oh, Pat can show you. I'm sorry. I thought that was a question there. Okay, guys, I think we're going to wrap this, but don't go yet. Adam's got something for you here for coming out.
So here, yeah, we made it. So we were just going to talk about just next steps. Everyone took an hour out of their Sunday to be here, and I think Pat, actually, you wanted to offer something for both the members and people who might be here new. And let me see. I was going to share some, but I don't want to share. So, Pat, was there something you wanted to share to the members here?
So what we're doing for, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So what we're doing for non-members, people that are joined us here, we're going to be doing a 20% off for your first month. You can use coupon code JOIN, JOIN. That'll give you 20% off whatever subscription you decide to take, whether it be guidance or mentoring. If you don't know which one to take, just take guidance. That's fine. Take the less expensive of the two to make sure that that's what you want, and make sure it's a right fit for you. And then also, we haven't forgot about the members, because I appreciate all the members that take their time to come out. What we're going to be doing for you is giving all of the members, a free swing trade or a longer term hold. And that's going to be posted right away for you guys.